ADHD brains have impulse control problems. He's that great ADHD friend who suddenly snaps, but you don't call him crazy because he's usually harmless. ADHD has messed up your life a lot more than you will ever know. Hi, my name is Me and I have ADHD. A psychologist tested me and said it was only subthreshold ADHD. But subthreshold my I'm not your usual running around all the times ADHD. My hyperactivity is in the form of having to do something all the times, whether physical or mental. And I love learning so much that at school I would turn into a hyper-focused zombie instead of the restless student who can't sit on her behind. Only later in life, when I went to a neurologist to complain about my memory problem, mid my third sentence, she interrupted me. You have ADHD. ADHD isn't just hyperactivity and scattered focus. What most people don't know is that impulse control is also a strong part of the package. For those of you who don't have ADHD, imagine being overtaken by a completely different entity. Some would even call it an evil entity. We get possessed for a split second or a few long stretched seconds. Sometimes lingering even longer in younger minds, where emotional swings hit sharper, louder, and far more intense. But what does being possessed like this mean? It means your conscious mind has zero control over what comes out of your mouth or what your body does. Someone says,
It's just normal that neither of us are the smartest people. Genius is rare.
bam, 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 bam. Yeah, you're the stupid one. So you think everybody else is stupid just like you. Someone politely touches your shoulder to show he's interested. Bam! You push him aggressively away. No, these aren't based on real stories. These are what I've actually done. And before you step away slowly and assume indeed I am crazy, I was raised in a country where groping was prevalent. So my brain took over to protect me. Unfortunately, ADHD impulse control shenanigans leave a lot of emotional damage in people around us. Remember the guy I pushed away rudely? Of course, that poor young man followed me, trying to explain he hadn't meant to be rude. But I made him feel even worse by running away. Now it seemed like he was harassing me. But in reality, I was just embarrassed and wanted to leave the situation as fast. I have broken the spirits of so many young men, it's not even funny. The good news, I didn't mean it. The bad news, they will never get the closure because they will never know.
A moment of silence for all the hearts we've broken. If you just said you've never done such a thing. It only means you never noticed them.
ADHD is not all bad news. We are very fun, high energy people who love to have different experiences, go to different places, do different things. You don't get bored with us if you can catch up. As long as you remember not to push our unhappy buttons. Probably your next question is, what triggers ADHD people? Partly because now you are uneasy and want to understand how to avoid setting off those monsters' reactions. And partly because you want to know why self-control doesn't kick in time. Since after each of those unfiltered moments, ADHD people end up feeling much worse, too angry, ashamed, and depressed. It turns out ADHD brains are super sensitive to criticism, and our minds are extremely susceptible to any physiological or physical disturbances, like hunger, thirst, lack of sleep, low physical activity, not enough intimacy, and anything else. To ADHD, criticism feels like an unprovoked enemy, suddenly jumping at us and starting to twist their very sharp, two-edged spear very deep into our heart that has already burst open and bleeding. Cross our red lines and we won't have time to realize you didn't mean it, or that the threat wasn't imminently fatal. Our minds go from 0 to 1000 in nanoseconds. What should you do right now? Your best option is to quietly leave, to give their conscious mind time to take over the situation. Your other option is to stand there and witness the human's amazing sympathetic nervous system's fight response live streaming. Of course, if someone has ADHD plus a physical violence streak, I would not recommend staying for the live stream. What if you didn't cross our red lines? Still, you can be in danger for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe we were so hyper-focused on whatever we were doing that we forgot to respect our physiologic needs. Now we are super tired, super hungry, super thirsty, super sleepy, and yes, absolutely super sensitive to anything anybody says or does. The civic unrest inside our body can and will affect anybody in our vicinity. When this happens, my hands and sometimes my whole body tremble, likely from low sugar and dehydration. My bladder is livid too, since I've even forgotten to go to the restroom. My back and legs ache because I haven't moved them for at least 2 hours. And then there is that strange contradiction. I'm hungry, but the thought of most food makes me nauseous. Yuck. This is the work of adrenaline. My nervous system releases it in panic, assuming we aren't eating or drinking water because we don't have access to them. So it acts like we might actually die. I remember sometimes seeing my dad jittery and walking around the living room anxiously with his head down. We asked him, "Dad, what is wrong? Are you alright?" He'd say,
I don't know, my body isn't balanced.
but as soon as he said it out loud, he became conscious of his problem. He would go to the bathroom right away, then to the kitchen to drink water and eat something. And voila, be back to his always smiling and happy himself. My dad was very social and being the first child, loved attention. So when he was like that, he would feel much better if we talked to him and acknowledged him. On the other hand, I am an introvert. I will be in the no human zone. My recommendation is to please leave me alone at that very moment. But I will be right back as soon as I have corrected my physiology. Thank you very much. So, if an ADHD person snaps at you, it's not always about you and what you said. Sometimes it's just that our body is not well balanced. No, no others. I have ADHD. Maybe I didn't know the name, but I had already learned many things about how to manage the ADHD me. I had learned I had to respect my body or else, and I had accepted that. If I didn't eat on time, if I didn't rest enough, and if I didn't sleep enough, my body would raise an almost literal hell. Actually, I had learned this when I was a kid, and so had my parents. They said I was very selfish when it came to my sleep. I would just push aside my other siblings in the backseat of the car so I could sleep with stretched legs. They call it selfish, I call it survival. Even they learned to make a quiet environment for my sleep so I wouldn't get cranky. We were a volatile family with ADHD. Sometimes, in the middle of a verbal fight, two hands would suddenly appear in front of our faces. Since we were in the heart of our exchanges, like two angry cats caught mid-fight, at first we jumped up startled, until we recognized they were my mom's hands. In one, she was pressing a piece of fruit toward my sibling's mouth, insisting on an immediate bite. At the same time, she guided a glass of water to my mouth.
You two are just hungry and thirsty.
Soon, we learned her method actually worked. So I would start laughing, thanking my amazing mom, and accepting whatever she offered. Then quietly slipping away from the scene, quite embarrassed. Growing up, it wasn't just our family of two ADHD with ADHD kids. Most of our extended relatives also had ADHD. Why? Because ADHDs love and need variety of experiences. So they marry other ADHD who have enough energy and love to always go out and do something different. When we were kids, we frequently hung out at my very fun grandma's cozy house. One of our unmarried neighbors was always either at her room's window, or if she wanted a different POV, she would stand on a chair by their shared wall. She loved to watch our soap operas. Frequent fights that erupted due to supersensitivity and ended just as fast once we realized we had overreacted. My grandma had a huge copper tray, and she served us something every 1.5 hours. Fruits, chai, nuts, desserts. She had learned how to control our moods. But you have no idea how often the ADHD forgets to eat, drink water, even sleep.
Remember to eat and drink water before you become hangry. Before you become hangry.
We can try to attend to our body's needs and keep them happy, but we can't always avoid others offending us. Especially since even I don't know what could or would offend me. I mean, people get offended all the time. But the problem with ADHD mind is that our body and mind take insults as acts of war, like something that can kill us right there and then. However, remember, it's not always us overreacting. Some sick people really mean to insult and provoke others. I can't stop my mind from being so sensitive. But I've learned the next best thing. No reaction, no comeback. They expect a fight, but there isn't one. By then, they decide I'm either not fun to argue with, or that I'm deliberately giving them the silent treatment. In general, this delayed response has served me very well, but it's not always the best ammo. Once, for example, a weird physician colleague started gently rubbing my calf. That married pervert. By the time I tried to figure out if he was just drunk or how strongly I had to stab his hand with a fork, JK of course, and by the time I was wondering what to do in front of all of our colleagues, he had stopped and moved on to a deep discussion about one of our very ill patients. I mean, talk about nice doctors who save lives, right? Life with ADHD isn't always easy, since I either have to accept the consequences of my fast reflex responses, whatever they might turn out to be, or let others abuse me because I couldn't concentrate fast enough for a fast response. If you were me in that situation, how would you react? By the way, we were sitting around a table with a bunch of our colleagues. We need everybody to stay perpetually alive.